To my YouTube channel. This is Soham here, and today we're going to be looking at my Week 8 game of the PSL Season 4 against Ampha. Now, going into this battle, I am currently 5 and 2. So, if I'm able to win my next two matches, I am guaranteed through to playoffs. However, Ampha is someone who is probably one of the more inconsistent guys in the league. Like, at his best, he is pretty good. Like, he can really beat anyone in the league. But he just doesn't seem motivated enough for this league. That's the thing. But anyway, yeah, let's have a look at his roster before we jump into our team builder. Alright, so his entire roster looks something like a Clefable, Comma-O, Nidoking, Honchcrow, Slurpuff, Rotom Frost, Megapensor, Mismagius, Typhlosion, Reuniclus, and Diggersby. Offensively, this is an absolutely terrifying team to face, or rather defensively, I should say, because his offense is absolutely terrifying. Starting from Clefable, although you might not think of Clefable as the biggest threat per se, but you know Clefable. If it starts setting up, there's nothing you can do about it. Like I think the CTC has said something like this: like, why outplay your opponent when you can just bring Clefable to a match and click Calm Mind with it? He is just one of those mons. Then he has Z Combo, which is always a threat because it can come physical, it can come special, it can come as a mixed attacker. So that's something I have to keep in mind. Nidoking is Nidoking. Honchcrow, once it gets going, it's absolutely terrifying. Slurpuff has a few different sets. The lead Sticky Web, the Cotton Guard Calm Mind, or the most usual one, the Belly Drum Unburden. Then there's Rotom Frost, which is another really good Z user in its own right. Mega Pinsir is absolutely terrifying to face if you don't have answers for it. Same with Miss Magius. If it gets a nasty plot up, it tears through your team. Typhlosion is always hard to switch into unless you have a fire resist. Reuniclus is Reuniclus. If it gets going in the late game, it sets up a trick room in the late game, you can't really do anything about it because at that point most of your team is weakened and it just dies. And Diggersby though. So looking at his team, however, from an offensive standpoint, man does not have a water type. And that's really big for me because that's something that I will exploit in my team builder, which you will see in a minute. So, and one more thing worth noting is that his only water resist is going to be his Como, which is quad weak to fairy. And guess my water type? That's Tapu Fini. It's a water and fairy type. So that's something you'll see in the team builder. Other than that, there's, as I said, there's a bunch of threats for me to worry about. So I try to tackle them to the best of my abilities in the team builder, which you'll see now. Alright, so the first member of the team was Karmari with an Okaberry. This was supposed to be sturdy. What the fuck? Oh, okay. Anyway, I messed it up. Never mind. So this is Okaberry's Karmi with Keen Eye for some reason, even though all my moves are 100% accurate. So it has Roost, Whirlwind, which is pretty standard. Brave Bird is standard as well. And Iron Head just for the Clefable. In case I get into a 1v1 with Clefable, I can try to do some damage with Iron Head. Although if it's a max defensive Clefable, like max physically defensive, I don't think Iron Head is going to do much, probably like 28-30%. But that kind of chip might be helpful for me because it might force him to go for a recovery move, which will give me a free turn to go into one of my more offensive mons, and then I can take the match out from there. This is Okaberry mainly for Como because if Como is running a mix set for some reason, like DD, Close Combat, Flamethrower just for this Karmari, in that case I can tank the Flamethrower with my Okaberry and I can whirlwind it out, which will be really helpful. Now, as for my EV spread, the HP investment along with the SPDF investment allows me to always live two Thunderbolts from an uninvested Clefable, and the rest of it was just put into into defense with defense increasing nature, in this case Impish, just so I can take hits from the combo better. Now, next mod on the team is going to be my dedicated switching to both Nidoking and the other one, what's it called? Mismagius, yep. And that's going to be my AV Licky Licky with knockoff Dragon Tail, Iron Tail, Seismic Toss. Knockoff is for super effective damage on the Mismagius and also gets rid of the Life Orb on Nidoking, which is going to be really crucial. Dragon Tail is going to be there to get rid of setup mons, especially the likes of the Reuniclus mainly because it won't be able to touch the Slurpuff and the Clefable anyway. And then there's the Iron Tail, which is going to hit both Clefable and Slurper for super effective damage. Although I'm not really sure how much it will do to them, but it's still good to have it around. And then Seismic Toss is there just for consistent damage. In case I'm not sure what he's going to switch in at a certain moment in the match, I'll just go for Seismic Toss and get some damage off. As for the EV spread, it's pretty standard. Max HP, max per def with an Assault Vest and a Careful Nature, just so that I'm able to take minimum damage possible from the special hits from my opponent. Now the next one on my team is going to be another Assault Vest user. In this case it's Mesprit, which is going to be my direct switch into the combo. Now this thing has U-Turn, Psychic, Dazzling Gleam, Thunderbolt. U-Turn is just for momentum. Psychic is his main form and stab. Dazzling Gleam is so that I have a better chance of one-hit KOing the combo after Stealth Rocks and Life Orb if he brings Life Orb. Although I don't really think he will bring Life Orb. I think it's going to be a Z move user. But anyway, yeah, that's that. And then there's Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt was for something that I can't remember right now. Oh yeah, it was for the Slurpuff, not the Slurpuff, the Honchcrow and the Mega Pinsir, yeah. As for its defense, the EV spread, this defense investment allows me to guarantee live Z Outrage from Max Attack Adamant combo. The speed investment is there, so I can speed creep zero speed Rotom move, and the rest of it was just put into special defense because I didn't really need it anywhere else. Now, next on my team is going to be my Choice Scarf Kyurem Black with Iron Head, Ice Beam, Outrage, and Earth Power. Ice Beam is my main form of stab in this move in this game because, as I said, he does not have a water type. And oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention about his team is that he also does not have a steel type. So he does not really have best of ice resists on his team. His best ice resists are Rotom Frost, which does not take Earth Power well, and Typhlosion, which is again weak to Earth Power. So these two are going to be my main attacks, and other than that I have Outrage and Iron Head. Iron Head is for the Clefable and the Slurpuff because it can 2-hit KO both of them. And looking at its EV spread, this has 184 speed with a hasty nature, which will allow me to guaranteed outspeed Choice Scarf Rotom if he decides to bring that. Max special attack to get max power behind the Ice Beam and Earth Power, and the rest of it was put into the attack stat so that I can hit as hard as possible with my Iron Head and Outrage. Next one on my team is going to be my Tapu Fini, and this time I'm bringing an offensive Tapu Fini because, just as I said, my opponent does not have very good water resist. His only water resist is going to be weak to Moonblast. So I'm bringing a Splash Plate Tapu Fini, which is going to have Taunt, Nature's Madness, Hydro Pump, and Moonblast. I chose Hydro Pump over something like Surf because Hydro Pump can potentially 2-hit KO the what's it called? The Hydro it can potentially 2-hit KO why am I stuck for it? The Clefable, yeah, depending on damage rolls if it decides to hard switch into my Tapu Fini. Taunt will allow me to shut down the Clefable, and along with Nature's Madness, it will allow me to get consistent damage off on the Clefable so that it's in range of either my Kyurem Black or the next mon on my team, which I'll reveal later. And Moonblast, as I said, is just going to round off the moveset because Moonblast is going to hit his only water resist for super effective damage. Now, as far as EV spread, it's pretty standard. Max special attack, max speed with Modest Nature, because Modest Nature will again allow me to 2-hit KO the Clefable with Hydro Pump, along with the boost from Splash Plate. And max speed was just there for maximum speed, I guess. That's pretty obvious. And the rest of it was put into defense because I didn't really need it. Now the last member on my team is going to be my Infernape, and this time I'm going to bring a Life Orb Blaze set with a Fake Out, Flare Blades, Gunk Shot, and Close Combat. Now this set is meant to be my dedicated lead against him because, as you can see right now from my team, I do not have a hazard remover on this. So if he brings a Slurpuff, a lead Slurpuff, and gets sticky webs up, it's going to be really difficult for me against him, especially with him having a Mega Pinsir and whatnot. So this set is meant to lead off against that Slurpuff. I'm going to get a Fake Out on him, which will break his sash on the Slurpuff, and then I'm going to kill it with Gunk Shot. What Life Orb Gunk Shot also allows me to do is it also allows me to potentially get a huge damage off on his Clefable, which can be crucial in the late game. And other than that, Flare Blades and Close Combat are there just for maximum damage. Flare Blades, as I said, he does not have a water type in his team, so his main switchings to fire types are going to be the Typhlosion and the and combo. Now, if he's bringing offensive combo, close combat will do around 60% to it, which means it will get 2-hit KO'd unless it's a scarf set with earthquake, in which case he can kill me back. And flare blitz again, his main switch is Typhlosion, which does not appreciate close combat. So that rounds out my moveset. And as for its investment, this is max attack, pretty standard, along with enough speed to outspeed the Mega Pincer, and rest of it was just put into HP. So having said that, let us now move on to the actual battle. Alright, now looking at his team, he did not even bring the Clefable, which is fantastic for me because now I don't have to deal with the Calm Mind or Cosmic Power shenanigans. As I said before, my dedicated lead in this match is going to be my Infernape, so that's what I choose to lead off with. I lead off with my Infernape, expecting him to go Slurpuff as a lead, but he goes into Typhlosion instead, which is a bit of a problem, but not too much, as I can just go for a Fake Out and gauge the damage on it. This damage tells me that this is most definitely an offensive Typhlosion with not much bulk invested into it. And at this point, I'm not going to stay in on this anymore because I know there's a chance that my close combat might not take him out. Whereas this can be specs extrasensory, and that will guarantee take out my Infernape. So I go out into the one mon which I know can take an extrasensory from it quite well, and that is going to be my AV Licky Licky, which was always going to be my guaranteed switch into his special attackers. So I get in Licky Licky. Thankfully for me, he seemed to be afraid of close combat as well himself. So he switched out into his Mismagius, as it is immune to the fighting type. Now this Mismagius can't really do much against the Licky Licky. Maybe if he was like a Z Focus Blast set, it would have worked. But since Mismagius is not even his Z move user, so there's not much he can do. So he goes out into his Nidoking. I go for knockoff. I get rid of his life up. Pretty much well done on my part. Now the thing is that he brought this Nidoking in on my Licky Licky. Now, as I said earlier, my Licky Licky is supposed to be my dedicated switch into Nidoking. But the fact that he brought it in hard on the Licky Licky instead of going into something like maybe the Como, this made me think that this Nidoking was probably a physical variant and it was probably carrying superpower, in which case my Licky Licky was in danger. So I didn't really want to take a superpower straight to the face, so I went out into Mesprit, because this is AV as well, so even if he does go for a special attack, it won't do too much to me. I go out into my Mesprit as he just gets his rocks up. Well, that's not much of a problem. So I just decided to go for a U-turn, realizing that he wouldn't want to stay in here. I go out into my Infernape, and at this point, I don't know what he was expecting. I just go for a gunk shot. If he was like a scarf set, maybe it could have hurt me in the long run, but the fact that I move first, that I move before him and get the gunk shot off, tells me that he was most definitely not scarf, and I get rid of this Slurpuff, which could have been a big problem late game. Now he goes out into his Pinsir, and I have my dedicated Mega Pinsir switch in, which is my Skarmory, as he pulls a beautiful double here and goes out into his Typhlosion. And I'm like, alright, this Typhlosion is definitely going to go for an Eruption right now because Specs Eruption has absolutely no answer, so I'm going to keep going back into my Licky Licky. He goes for Focus Blast, and unfortunately for him, he misses. Now that Focus Blast, if he was Choice Specs, it would have done around 40 to 45%. If he was not Choice Specs, it would have done around 30 to 35%. So I'm okay with that. I see that he's locked into into Specs Focus Blast, so I go out into my Specs or Scarf Focus Blast. So I go out into my Mesprit, my Budget Mew. Now, seeing as though he might not want to stay in anymore on me, I predict something else to come in. No, wait a second, this is not that turn. Yeah, so I just throw off a Psychic here because I'm not sure what he's going to do. Maybe he would stay in and go for an Eruption, because he might not be the choice scarf set that I'm expecting him to be, so I just throw off a Psychic to get some damage off on Typhlosion. However, he goes into Mismagius, which is good for me because I have a dedicated switch into Mismagius, which is my Licky Licky, as he goes for a Nasty Plot. So I'm like, yeah, unless you have Focus Blast, you don't do much to me. And luckily for me, he does not seem to have Focus Blast. He goes for Dazzling Gleam, which does absolutely beautiful amounts of damage, and I get some beautiful damage on him with the knockoff, which did 38% in spite of the Cold Berry. So I'm like, yeah, alright, no problem there. Now he brings in this Como, and now from what I've seen of Ampha as a player, like, this man really likes to predict, and I guess that he would predict me to switch out into something like the Skarmory or the Tapu Fini, and he would go for Dragon Dance here. So what I do here is I get a bit cheeky. I decide to stay in, and yeah, as you'll see next turn, he goes for the Iron Tail, predicting me to go into Tapu Fini. However, I predict him to the setup, so I go for a Dragon Tail so that I can phase him out. Now he goes out into his Pinsir again, and I'm like, yeah, I have only one switch into it, and that's my Skarmory. I go out into that. As he goes for a return, does some chip damage, not much at all. I'll just roost back off. Now he goes out into his Nidoking. I'm like, yeah, a fire type move is definitely coming my way. So I hard switch out into my Licky Licky, as he's going to predict that and go for the Sludge Wave. Really good play on his part, and that gets my Licky Licky out. Now I'm like, yeah, I have my Scarf Cure in black, and Ice Beam is most definitely going to kill him. If he does go into Typhlosion, if he does go hard Typhlosion, however, which I don't think is really likely, because I can just as well go for Earth Power right now and net a kill on this Typhlosion. So what I do is I decide to throw off an Ice Beam anyway. Probably should have gone for the Earth Power, but that would have allowed his Mega Pinsir to set up on me, so I didn't want that to happen. So I just go for Ice Beam, get rid of it, and now he goes into Mega Pinsir. Now the fact that he goes hard into he goes out into his Mega Pinsir before his Typhlosion tells me that it's probably that gimmicky little Endure Endeavor set which he has been running all season. Now if it indeed is that Endure Endeavor set, he probably expects it to work because he is going to be faster than my Kyurem Black. However, I am a Scarf Kyurem Black. So he goes for the Endure, gets it off, and I go for Ice Beam. At this moment, he still does not know that I am Scarfed, but right now he will find out that I am indeed Scarfed, and I'm going to get rid of him before he can do anything. Now he goes out into Typhlosion as I go out into my Skarmory, because looking at the rest of his team, I don't really need Skarmory anymore. So what I wanted to do was I basically wanted to sack off Skarmory, then wanted to go out into my Tapu Fini, and then I would have just clicked Hydro Pump twice and Moonblast once, and I would have won the match. So I just wanted to sack the Skarmory off at this point. So I go on to Skarmory, expect him to click a fire type move. However, he over predicts, goes for the Hidden Power Grass, probably expecting my Tapu Fini. I just want to sack this thing off. I go for the Brave Bird, get an unfortunate crit on his Nidoking, although that didn't really matter. All it did was it just took away one kill from Tapu Fini. That's all it did, because I would have sacked off the Skarmory next turn to this Typhlosion anyway. So Typhlosion comes back in. I'm like, yeah, I'm totally ready to sack this thing off. He goes for Eruption. I'm totally fine with that. My Orca Blade doesn't really help me out here. It's not supposed to either against a Typhlosion. So I let that Skarmory die. I go out into my Tapu Fini now. I just click Hydro Pump because again his best resist is going to die. Now this is where I was actually a bit impatient. What I should have done was probably go out into my my Mesprit, because if he was poisoning Z here, he could have knocked me out. So I decide to stay in here and go for the Moonblast. He goes for Iron Tail, which doesn't really do much. Gets a defense drop, but it won't really matter. I kill him with Moonblast. What I should have done was gone into my Mesprit and sack it before going out into the Tapu Fini. What it would have achieved was that in case he was poisoning Z, Poison Jab, I would have wasted his Z move on my Mesprit, and if he tried to set up on it, I would have really hit him hard back with what's it called, Dazzling Gleam, at which point he would have been in range of +1, at which he would have been in range of Earth Power from Scarf Kyurem Black, and Earth Power from Scarf Kyurem Black, or not even Earth Power, even Outrage would have cleaned up the match at that point. But anyway, I decided to stay in, and luckily for me, it plays out in my favor. He goes out into Typhlosion right now. You already know what's about to happen. He goes for Fire Blast, hopes for the crit, does not get the crit. I get the Hydro Pump, pick him off, and we get a 4-0 win over Ampha in our Week 8 battle. So yeah, this was a good game for us, especially after our loss last week against Track. And yeah, so now we are 6-2 in the league. Next week we are going to play against Angel, and if we are able to win that match, we are through to the playoffs as far as I think. Yeah, because we have a good differential right now. I think it's +16, I guess. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, if we win one more match, I think we'll be out of range of Doc and Nero, who are sitting at number 5 and number 6 respectively. So yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me for this battle. Anyway, yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.